What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Lion's Den. My name is Seth. If this is your first time tuning in, y'all, what we do here, we have conversations about all things leadership, growth, development, and with a call to action from the household to out in the community. Can you dig it? Right. So if you're in, let me know that you're here, right? Chime in. Uh, you know, this is a good time, good space in the world to be alive. And as a matter of fact, again, this is the Lions Den, and with today being game day, got to represent for Detroit Lions. Oh yeah, it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Listen, win, lose, or draw, it don't matter. You dig? We in there. We're in there. So what's going on with you, family? What's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? Y'all, we're talking about today conflict resolution. Right on. How do you do that thing? How do you do that thing? How do you deal with things? How do you deal with people? Right? How do you deal with circumstances or external conflicts or those conflicts internally? How do you do that, ladies and gentlemen? How do you do that with your friends, your family? How do you do that in just day-to-day interactions? I was having a conversation with my daughter earlier today about how limiting matching energies can be, right? And sometimes it's easy, a lot of times it's easy just to give individuals what they give you, just to quote unquote win either an argument or to be the right one in a situation. So we want to talk about that and amongst other things. Now, Herm, he's out for a moment he either forgot what today is. No, he just had to take care of some business. So he's going to be on a little bit later, y'all. So don't trip. We go get that in. So let's get right into it. So when we're talking about conflict resolution, I want you to ask yourself, when you have a disagreement, right? How do you focus on working together instead of just trying to win? Okay? How do you do that? How do you really, really do it? And do you take a time or do you take the time to be calm and actually look at the total situation? It's not easy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's more easier to be out of line than to have a calm solution. So, what is the definition of conflict resolution? So, essentially, conflict is just button heads, right? Or a disagreement between either thoughts, values, situations. All right. It's just a disagreement or just a misunderstanding. Now, the resolution is a way to solve whatever the issue is or to diffuse. All right. So, how do you do that? How do you do that when someone like offends you? How do you deal with that? All right. How do you deal with it? And the other part of it is, do you know yourself? Uh-oh. Do you know yourself? What I mean is, when you're going through these situations, right, these conflicts, do you know what trigger you? And by now, it's easy to know and easy to communicate when you're calm, right? You can say, well, when someone says this or someone says that, that's what kind of tipped me off. Knowing it is one thing, but knowing how to avoid it is another, right? So, how do you do that? How do you do that? Now, for me, here I am at the ripe age of, I'm around that age, but I don't get it right all the time. And that's real. And sometimes I forget how important it is to A, walk away, or B, just realize it's really not that important, or C, I don't want to put things at risk to, just be right or to, avoid getting my feelings hurt, if that makes sense, or looking stupid. All right, let's be real. Let's be real. And so, unfortunately, in certain times, I might pop off. All right. Hey, every once in a while, what do you say? Sometimes you got to pop up and show them. You don't need to do that all the time. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some times when you kind of need to, right? But it doesn't yield well all the time. So, folks, that's what we want to talk about, different ways that we can avoid those things, right? Now, when you're talking about a conflict, or when we're talking about a conflict, having those conversations or those disagreements, are you able to A, look at yourself and say, all right, is this really worth my time? B, look at the individual that you're talking to or with, having a disagreement with. Is this my friend? Is this my brother? Is this my significant other? Is this someone that I value? Right? Meaning, can we have a conversation and voice each other's opinions or mine? Hey, this is how I felt when this happened, and I don't appreciate it. And also know that at the end of that conversation, even if that person don't get it, you still value that person. All right. And then the last thing is understanding the consequences. Friends, check it out. There's times when you can value, let's say, your family, right? You can value your significant other. You can value your career. All right. You can value all of these things before a conflict. But as soon as a conflict happens, yo, you ready to flip the tables. Boom, it's a wrap. Look, I don't care. I'm what they say, standing on business, right? So that means everything that you value totally out the window. You dig? So how do you avoid that? How do you avoid that? Yo, what's going on, Big Nate? Yo, so look, we was having this conversation earlier this weekend in a different forum, and I mean, it's strange sometimes, right? Like, wow, people go through the same things I go through, which is cool, but how do they deal with it, and how can we, learn from each other? So, check it out. What about this? Think about your work, all right? So, with 85%. Ladies and gentlemen, with 85% of employees saying unresolved conflict causes stress at work. Okay. What way can you fix problems with your coworkers? How have you been able to do that? All right. Sometimes it's just walking away. But what if you can't? What if it's your boss? Right? How do you do those things? Because if you walk away from every situation, is it actually a resolve? Sometimes you got to do what? Take a minute, chill out. All right. Walk it off. Say, hey, right now isn't the time. However, we're going to talk about it. Right. I need to talk about it. We need to talk about it because A, is better out than in. B, there's a level of understanding that needs to happen, not agreement. You may not have to, you don't have to agree, but understand, the different sides of the situation, right? And but then the most important thing is what? Your job. All right. Check it out. Y'all remember on there was a skit with Dave Chappelle. I don't know if y'all remember this or not, but it was called When Keeping It Real Goes Bad. Right? Now, you can keep it real, okay? You can keep it 100, but what happens when that 100 goes bad? You dig? So all the things that you care about or that you value, you're throwing it out the window just to stand on business, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, you dig? So look, Nate, he says walking away does not always resolve the issue, but it gives you time to remain steadfast for your approach in the future. Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. And also, too, friends, it gives you an opportunity to really think about, is it worth it? So it takes some time, right? Not long, actually. It only takes about 4 minutes for a situation to happen and for you to say, all right, do I really slap this fool? You know what I mean? Now, seriously, you can picture yourself slapping the bejesus out of somebody for being out of line. As a matter of fact, friends, fun fact, every day, roughly every day before lunchtime. So let's say about 11 o'clock Central Standard, I can picture myself slapping at least 5 people. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean good. And I mean like not just back in the day. No, with the glove. No, I mean like really coming back from the back of my pockets with an extra stretch, right? Some Street Fighter type of slap, you dig? But I picture that. Okay. Yes, I do. I do. No, listen. No, real talk. No, I ain't gonna do it. But in my head, I hear it. You feel me? But at the same time, what do we do with that though, friends? What do you do with the feelings that you have that could be detrimental in the future, that could be that the consequences could be very negative? You can lose your life, you can lose your family, you can lose your your career and all of that just because somebody offended you. Is that the right thing to do? No, it's really not. So again, friends, here we are. We're here at the Lions Den, and again, we're focused on leadership, growth, and development. We're constantly growing. If you have the opportunity to wake up again today, hello, how you doing? We made it right on. But then what do you learn, right? How can you grow? How can you develop? How can you do things differently? And then so that's what we're talking about. How can we do that, right? So we're going to have a little story time, right? I'm going to share a time when there was a conflict, okay? There was a time when there was a conflict, and it could have been done better. It could have been done a whole lot better. No names, right? Because I want to protect the names of the innocent, right? But I am the actual the main character in this situation. However, there was a time when a good colleague, I'm gonna say colleague, but at the time I thought it was a friend, right? A good colleague said some things about me. Actually, take that back. This colleague, he brought some information to me and said, hey, there was individuals that said A, B, C, and D about you. Now, mind you, before I was like, oh, this is a friend of mine. This person cares. Okay, this person cares. And as I'm listening, and it was out of line, y'all, like, oh, and this is when I was in the military. Oh, Sergeant Miller doesn't do this, da 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 da. I'm like, okay, I can get it, right? Because you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And it was more opinion based, it wasn't fact based, right? But the conflict came in when something in my mind, right? Maybe it was just the petty side. So check it out, y'all. We got two sides of us, all right? You know it. You remember back in the day, right? Looney Tunes. You got the angel right over here, okay? And then you got the opposite, right? It could be the devil. It can be, the shadow you. It could be whatever you want to call it, little demon. So as my colleague is telling me this information, the angel is saying, you know what, that's real good. At least you're getting feedback. This is what the angel say, amen. You're getting feedback, right? And then so the opposite side of me, right? The darker side, if you will, says, hey, if this is your friend, what did your friend say in response, right? So I'm big on loyalty. So friends, we're going to take a pause. When we're talking about conflict, and again, it's a breakdown or a misunderstanding or a disalignment of values. My values is loyalty, period, point blank, no matter how high, how low, but it just has to be there. As soon as it's not there, I'm done. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? But I'm working on it, right? Work in progress still. So anyway, back action. So the other side of me says, hey, if he said all of that to you about what they said, what did he say in response? And so the angel part said, hey, it ain't that serious. At least you're getting the information, right? But I start tuning this one out. I say, look, you need to go sit down because this does make sense. Why? Because it's attached to my values, friends. So what I did was I took that thought process and made it personal. And then I checked the person. I said, okay, well, so essentially that part of me kind of morphed inside of me. And instead of taking the high road, I said, hey, well, all right, I can dig that. But what did you say in response? Oh, Man, and this, oh man, look, shoot, and he kind of stumbled over words. And then all of a sudden I realized you was part of the chitter chatter. You did. So then I had to realize, yo, it's an issue. So the fact that, well, the conclusion of it was, from now on, I don't want to hear nothing that comes out of individuals' mouths that can't say anything to my face, because I don't value weak individuals. I respect individuals that can communicate, regardless if I agree or not. Now, that was a conflict and it was resolved to the point where we never had that situation again. However, that wasn't the best way it could have been resolved. You see? So I want y'all to think about a time. And I know Nate, you got a few, I'm sure, right? He told me about a few of them, but I want y'all to really think about it. You ain't even got to put it in, right? Because the other side, right, your that individual you probably had the conflict with might be watching or listening right now. But I want you to think about those times that you had the some issues or unresolved conflicts and that could have been done a little better. What was the issue? My issue was pride. Yeah, check it out. That's the word, pride. So the question is, have you ever been in a situation where your pride kept you from the resolution? Think about it, right? Your pride said, no, I'm standing on 10 toes down, 20 toes. Hey, better yet, 10 toes, 5 fingers. You dig? All the way down. Don't nobody oh, wait, watch this. I'm from Detroit. You don't really? Really? Is that growth? Is that development? Right? Is that the best way you can do those things? Right? Think about it. You're responding and acting as though you don't, that there isn't a better way. So you want to be known as, I told this person, blah, 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 blah. And then what? See? So it's not easy, friends, but that's the case. And that's what we're trying to work through together. All right. So again, you can chime in, right? And am I the only one? Maybe I'm the only one that kind of deals with conflict resolution or just conflict in general differently. All right. That's maybe it's just me. But so now think about this though, friends. When you're upset, okay, in a disagreement, what helps you to calm down and really listen to the other person? Right? What's the one word? Right? What helps you to calm down? Right? Like for me, and this is the opposite of walking away, because you really need to hear the person out, or you're upset. You're so upset, or this person may be so upset, right? But you kind of flip out. You don't want to flip out, right? What's going on? Terry says space and time away. But now, what if, this is the question, what if you can't though? Okay. How do you calm down to hear the person? Because honestly, friends, that's the real issue, is a misunderstanding. And the other part of it is we think we are the smartest individual in the room, or we feel, watch this, we feel as though the other person does not value us. The question is that true, or is that little part of you trying to get you book? Okay. Kendrick, what's going on, bro? He says, for sure, pride and ego aren't the same, but they hang tight on the same street corner. You ain't never lying. Hey, they right there. You see? So sometimes sometimes the hardest thing, but the best thing is just to kind of shut up. And listen, it's not shut up to wait for a person to stop talking, or to shut up to, kind of tune the person out, or just so you can say what you have to say. Like, pause and say, wait a minute. Oh, man or girl or teacher or significant other, I didn't even know. That's what you were saying. Or, okay, I get what you're saying. I wasn't even thinking on that. Then what you can say is, once you calm your crazy ass down, you can say, I can see why you said that. Because if I was in your situation, I would have said the same thing. Chances are we would have said the same thing or thought the same thing. You see? So it's important to stay calm, chill out. What you gonna do? What like, and so it goes back to this, friends, the relationship. Okay. What is it that you value? All right. If you really value that, are you really to risk it all just being right? Or you don't talk to me like you like, really? Is it really that serious? Maybe someone is trying to teach you something. But how can they teach you something if you won't shut your mouth? So Kendrick says, pause and breathe. What am I missing? Absolutely. Or how can I look at this differently? Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. Like, how can you do that? And you know what, friends? It's not easy because the opposite of this pride and ego is being humble. Now, there is a disdain when it comes down to, well, even just the word humble. All right. I remember when an individual will say, maybe you just need to be humble or humble yourself. I would really take offense to it for real. Okay. I really, really take offense because if you think about, excuse me, the definition. Okay. If you think about the definition, it says to have or showing a modest or low esteem, excuse me, of one's own importance. Okay. Now, if you think about it, it can sound like you're lowering yourself and your identity, but that's not it. In the situation, it's like, wait, hold on. Let me take a step back for a moment. All right. Let me get out of the driver's seat. Let me get off of this podium. Let me get off of this platform and kind of see things from another person's perspective. That's another sign of being humble. Like, hey, let me take a step back because a lot of times, friends, when those energies are high and it's mutual, right? If the energies is high, you feel away, they feel away. What do you think you're going to hear? What do you think you're going to resolve? It just makes it worse. Pow, pow, pow. And then what end up happening is you start saying things you don't mean. Mm-hmm. Yeah, ever been there? Ever been there? Yeah, you ever said some things that you couldn't take back? Even if you apologize, because the unfortunate part is in the heat of the moment, and this is when it gets real, in the heat of the moment, when you are upset, emotions are up, what happens, friends? Go ahead, somebody chime in. What happens in the heat of the moment when just the anger is there? What happens? Anything. Somebody put it in. I'm gonna give you a second. I want y'all to really think about it. If you don't calm your ass down, right, and decide to do it, what can happen in the heat of the moment? Anybody? This is what can happen. Those skeleton bones, right? Those truths, those things that you may have felt, truths that are inside that may not be true for the whole situation, but you've been holding on to these things because deep down inside it wasn't right to say. Right? It's a thought, right? It's a thought, but it wasn't right to say. But in the heat of the moment, guess what happens? It all comes on out. It all comes on out. You so mad, somebody done pissed you off so bad, and you say, you know what? That's why your daddy ain't your real daddy. And they're like, wait a minute, what they got to do with this? You get what I'm saying? Or it's like all this stuff start coming out just because you upset. And it's like, oh, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean, you can't take that back. It may be the truth. You see what I'm saying? So it's important for you to really, before you put yourself in a situation or you damage a relationship, you you damage your career, right? Or you damage your own life. You can incriminate yourself. I mean, it's so many different things you can do just by avoiding the resolution of a conflict and by standing on it. And ain't nobody going to tell me. And look, since I'm so hurt, since you trying to hurt me, I'm gonna hurt you worse. Right? I'm gonna hurt you worse. I'm gonna talk about that missing toe. Flipper. You dig? Or I'm gonna hit you where it really hurts. You see? So you want to avoid those type of things. You do. You truly, truly do. Now, a lot of this, friends, seriously, is about miscommunication, poor communication, right? So, and y'all can look this up. Did you know that 86% of problems, either at work, in a household, all right, in school, or in social settings, are caused by individuals that don't understand you, all right? And especially during tough talks, they don't understand you. And you know the jacked up part is, hold on, let me see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got him back in the building. What's up, man? You take care of everything?
Yeah, man. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. You in there. You in there.
Yeah,
What up,
man.
though?
I had to run to the store for a family member real quick, man. It was an emergency.
Hey, sometimes you need that, man. But look, we're talking about the conflict resolution, and the last thing I was talking about was the miscommunication piece. How 86% of the things that cause conflict is like a misunderstanding.
Right. So
What you think
my
about that?
apologies. I really didn't get to hear what was said, so I don't know if I'm gonna repeat anything. Just let me know. Just let me
Yeah,
know.
it's
Let me
all
get
good.
into this.
Mm-hmm.
So you said conflict resolutions,
Yeah.
how do we know, you know what I'm saying, if this is miscommunication, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first step is do you want to identify if that's the root cause?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, how do you slow down to do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when it comes to conflict resolutions, if you press the wrong button, that person might already be at a 6 when you really trying to be at a 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now, if that person's at a 6, how do you get them down to a 2? And if you're the one at a 6, how do you recognize that, man, you are spinning out right now? You really need to calm down.
Right.
So how do we get there in the initial part to first get our emotions in control?
Yeah. And so, no, you're absolutely right. So this is what Kendrick said. He said, pause and breathe and ask yourself, what am I missing? Or how can I look at this differently? All right. And Terry was like, space and time to talk, time to basically walk away and time away. And so, but it depends. Okay. It all depends on the situation, because sometimes you can't leave. What if it's at work? Right. Or what if it's something that's an emergency? Right. And I think about this, man. We was in the military. Sometimes there's no fail situations where the mission has to go on and there's a conflict. How do you get to the point where, to your point, lower down the emotions? You get what I'm saying? Before things get worse. You
I,
see?
I
So it all
think
depends.
I think really, man, you got to know yourself first.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You got to know and understand yourself first, and you got to recognize your triggers before they, you know what I'm saying, get set off.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
When my triggers go off, I feel like that's a free reign for me to be as disrespectful, be as crazy and ridiculous as possible, because you know what? You set off my trigger. That's
And
your
see,
fault.
right. And look, this is what we was talking about that earlier. This was Nathan said, Siri played Nuck if you by Crime Mop. And so the thing is, we talked about that, right? So, but what's the point when you know your triggers? Like right now, right? We having this conversation. We're on the podcast, right? The best podcast in the world. And we can have this conversation about our triggers, but then what happens when the triggers are triggered? Do we revert back to us understanding them to say, wait a minute, it's happening. Let me go on ahead and fall back because I'm getting ready to turn up. But why is it that our default is like, it's on, nuck if you buck? Still?
Yeah, man. For some folks, their emotions, you know what I'm saying, it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And it's like Kendrick said, man, if you're able to pause, take a step back,
Yeah.
try to jump outside of your body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at the situation like, look, before you spin off, remember the part of conflict is resolution that we're trying to get to. We don't want the conflict.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? That's not the goal is to have the conflict, not to beat the person down into submission to your way.
See?
Oh, you're gonna see my way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nah, you're gonna see my way. It don't even matter if I'm wrong now at this point.
It don't matter.
You done pissed me off.
That's right. Right. And so that's what we were talking about earlier. So it's like when you're having a disagreement, how do you focus on working together instead of just trying to win the argument? And then just like what we was talking about earlier over the phone is when that pride get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So what Terry says, all right, says are a different level of emotions invoked with work and personal conflicts. No, it is. But the difference, the similarity is it's you. You're still there. You're the same person from home and at work. Now the values may be different, okay, but it's still connected to you making a conscious decision on is it worth it to stand 10 toes down. That's when the pride gets in.
And also, another thing that's the same, it's still a conflict. Personal, professional, you know what I'm saying, spiritual, financial, it's still a conflict.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And the conflict is going to enact a response.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Either emotionally or rationally, you got the control over how you're going to respond. You going to be an asshole or you going to be reasonable?
Right.
How do you want to take this?
Right. Because the consequences and then here's the crazy part. You don't even know what the consequences are going to be all the time. But what you can do is make sure, hey, I understand myself, I understand my triggers, and I am triggered right now. But the question is, do I value this job? Do I value my family member? Or even if it's not a family member, do I value this relationship with this person? It could just be an associate. It could be Herm, right? Like, yo, I value Herm so much, even though I know everybody know he can't sing, save his life. Do I have to let him know that? And no, over here, Herm, over here. I don't know what you're looking at, bro. I want to make sure your camera works. So it's like,
I'm listening, man. I'm just thinking about all the sold out karaoke venues I'd be at. You know what I mean? People waiting for me. You know what I mean?
But for real. But think about it. Are you willing to kind of just jack up everything that truly matters at the end of the day just by standing on what you feel is right?
For some people, they have such lack of emotional control that they can't see past their nose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All they doing is, hey, I'm going to be right at any cost. I'm about to be right in this situation.
Yes.
You know. Yeah. Unfortunately, I know that I can get like that. I can get stubborn that way. And it's something that, you know, as an adult, for real, you really can't stop making excuses for why you keep doing the same thing.
Look, we be talking about it.
Huh?
We be talking about it. And
it's like, man, and here you come with the logic and shit, trying to talk to me, and I'll be like, listen, man, get the hell off my goddamn phone, man.
Hey, but look, I'll be there too, though. I mean, really. Because it happens, though. Because right before you came in, we were actually having a conversation about being so upset, right? Still at this point of our life, right? Being so upset about certain things and then what happens afterwards, right? And this is what we was talking about when you say some things that might be true, but it can be crushing. It's hurtful. And then, you know, it's some words or phrases or things that you cannot take back, right? Because you lost control of everything. You are the controller, not the controlled. You dig? And then therefore you start to say some things that just crush people. And you get what I'm saying? People that you say you love.
Man, I mean, but why does it get that way?
Facts.
you know, it's like again, I'm gonna go back to what Kendrick said. You know what I mean? I remember having a talk with my wife, and she told me that I take everything personal, even when people cut me off in traffic. Like, you think that they're thinking, "Hey, that's Herman Brown. I got to cut him off."
Right.
You know? Like, you think
It's,
that
it's
much
all
of
feeling when
yourself,
you
like,
think
you
about it,
know,
right? It's all
everything is
feeling.
personal to you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I ain't letting Herman Brown have it today. I got to cut him off. You know what I'm saying? And I had to sit and think about it because I preach this all the time, and I do mean it. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Lead with that. You know what I mean? Stop real quick. You know what one time I just got stationed in Turkey.
Okay.
New assignment. I'm the brand new fitness superintendent. E7. I'm the for those not in the military, I'm a senior enlisted, higher echelon in the enlisted corps. Kid says the N-word. He's one of my young troops that I just met for the first time. Right? He knows who I am. Mm-hmm. Kid says the N-word. Just letting it fly. He just meeting me. I'm jet lagged. I'm like, what in the world is going on? Mm-hmm. Now, this is a conflict because, you know, in the military we have zero tolerance for that.
That's right.
But this is a young man from Atlanta. You know what I mean? He's brand new to the military. Don't know nothing. So how do you handle that? Mm-hmm. Now, I could have went off the deep end. Mm-hmm. And lit him up right then and there. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But the next day, you know what I mean? I let it ride. The next day, I probably should have said something right then and there and not think about it. But the next day, I called him to the office when I'm in my uniform and everything. And I apologized to him. Here's what I did. I said, hey, first thing I got to do, I got to apologize to you. Because it must have been something I was saying, the way I was walking, the way I was conducting myself, for you to think that it was okay for you to say those words out there the other day. Mm. And for that, I apologize. Mm-hmm. I take full responsibility for that. Moving forward.
That's right.
Here's how you conduct yourself. You know what I mean? It didn't help. I mean, he wound up getting kicked out anyway. But the thing was,
wait, see,
the thing is that I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
And I got to do that more when it's conflict resolution.
Yeah.
When something is coming up, like, how do I, hey, maybe there's something in me that's making this happen right now. Let me, you know what I'm saying? Because most time when there's a fight or something, it's two people involved.
Always.
You know what I mean? Yes, two people involved. So maybe there's something in me. So let me take a step back and handle my part real quick so I can get, you know what I'm saying? And try to get some emotional maturity inside the room.
And you know, and I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of times when we're in that conflict, like I was saying a little earlier, when you're in a conflict, friends, the most important thing or that's going on is your ability to prove your point. Ain't that a trip? Like, you're the most important person. So everything that other person's saying is very trivial, invalid, or your goal is to disprove everything that they're saying, right? Why? Because it's innately, it's a self-preservation. You see what I'm saying? Because your identity, you think that your identity is under attack.
Right.
So check it out. Here's Terry. She says, how do you respond to reoccurring conflicts with the same people? All right, with the same people. Does that change how you react? Well, I would say this. It depends. If, and this is my thought process, if there's a conflict with the same person, okay, it's just reoccurring, it kind of goes back to Herm's point. It's like, well, what are you doing? Are you doing something different? Because again, we know what insanity is, right? Doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So if there's a conflict there, maybe there's an opportunity to understand the person, where they're coming from. Say, oh, this whole time you thought it was this, I thought it was that, and we were both on two different pages. You dig? So, and I want you to chime on that though. But Kendrick says, sounds like taking ownership of the situation. And that's it. That's it. Taking ownership. So it's being humble is actually stronger, if you will, right? It's like, you know what? I see how I contributed to this conflict. Now, here's moving forward, like the example, moving forward, this is what we can't do. It's illegal. You dig? It's called zero tolerance, right? And he chose whatever he chose, right? But so how would you respond to this though, bro?
For me, if I'm having a conflict with the same person, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to change how I react, because obviously the first way I react, I mean, I've got to adapt. If it's the same person causing me conflict, I got to sit down with that person like, hey, where are we at?
Yeah.
Like, you know
Like,
what I'm saying? Like, if I'm at work with someone, I had this person, she's gone now, thank God. I've never had work beef ever. But this one lady all of a sudden became my work enemy. You know what I mean? And she was a fan on Facebook, and I didn't know what was going on. And it seemed like every day it was a conflict with her. And I had no idea. I always try to lead with kindness and respect. But all I was getting was disrespect and issues from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thankfully, she's gone. And to this day, I still don't know how to resolve that. You know, I don't know what. Come to find out, it wasn't just me. Again, people tell me, well, not people. My wife told me, stop thinking everything personal is just about her. You know what I mean? You really ain't that important. She was doing that to everybody. She was just having a bad time with everybody. I thought it was just me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if I'm having a problem with the same person, first I got to find out why there's a problem. Is it a personal issue with me? You know what I mean? Or is it, you don't like the way I conduct business? What is it that you are? Because, 1 minute we're arguing about I turned the light on inside the office. Next minute it's because I left a drink on the table. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's the same conflict about the same thing, or is it a different conflict every time I turn around. But at the end, I'm got to figure out why we are having this conflict. Is it personal? You just don't like me? Or what? And then try to figure out if it's up to me to fix this.
Now, and that's what I was going to talk about very briefly. What if it just ain't it, like there aren't, or there isn't, excuse me, a resolution? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, seriously, right? What if this person just don't like you and they don't know how to communicate it? So maybe you ain't doing nothing wrong innately, but in their mind, they just cannot compute that, you are just you, and they just can't dig it. So here's Sharita, shout out. What's going on? She says, often people are arguing, aren't seeking resolution. That's what we're talking about, right? So resolve requires accountability, acceptance, and options for solutions and resolve. And that's the deal.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But look at these key words though, y'all. Accountability, acceptance, not expectations. Let me ding my dang self. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes we expect individuals just to pick up what we're putting down. How about they just not going to get it, and it's okay. So I guess that's the question. When do we realize it's okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. It's not going to be fixed, or you can't fix it. Like, think about it. Here it is. We've been out the military for I don't know how long.
4 years?
Right. They go for it's a problem, right? But anyway,
what you
almost. Wait, what's this? Yeah, 5 years. It'll be 5 years in September for me. So check. You still don't know. Do you? Like, do you know what the issue is with you and that lady?
Oh, this person was a city employee.
Okay, what city employee? Do you still know? Do you know?
No, I don't. But it doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean?
So, but what I'm saying is, when do we get to the point where it doesn't matter?
For me, it depends on who the person is. If it's not going to matter. Like, say if it's work, right?
Okay. Yeah.
If it's work, then and that person's not going to work and I'm not going to work, we can't get no resolutions, no resolve, then I gotta be the smart one if I want to continue to work there to find out how I'm gonna be able to work around this person.
Come on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stay responsible and don't get me out of the way. You know what I mean? Just don't let nobody, what they like to say, trick you out your position. Right?
Yeah.
If it's a personal thing, then I gotta figure out what this person means to my life, right? It's like, for instance, like I had a big falling out with some close friends of mine over politics.
No,
Right?
no.
For real,
Are
man.
you
Like
serious? Not you.
serious, man. Disbanded the group chat and everything. You know what I mean? Everybody dropped out the group chat. I messed it all up because I was spiking the football after the election, right? You know what I mean? And
You
them
so
man was
stupid.
pissed.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop. But you know what you
Well, hey, man, there was way for me to log on so I could say something. And everybody left the group chat except me and shit, right? You know what I mean? I'm like, God dang.
group
You know
chat
what I
by
mean?
yourself.
And it was real. They was really pissed, right? And I was like, damn, did I lose my friends forever? Like, what happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I had to realize what my friends meant to me. And is this gloating that I'm doing really worth it? Right? Because on the flip side of that, if the election would have went the other way,
See?
oh, they would have spared no. Oh man, they would have been clowning.
Right.
Right? You know what I mean? But me being me, and normally I'm in the minority because I'm one of those free thinkers that's able to think for myself, unlike all of you guys. You know what I mean? Well, anyway.
What an idiot. Listen.
But I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
It went for a few months now these are the guys I talk to every day, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To include you.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I just went and started a new group chat with them again on New Year's.
Uh-huh.
Like, hey, happy New Year's, guys.
You can't help yourself. No, you can't help yourself.
But I missed my friends.
That's
you
right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
My conflict resolution right there for me, because I needed my friends.
Yeah.
Right. I had to humble myself. Like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and like, man, if they don't, I don't need to talk to them neither.
You're right.
I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? So I started the group chat back up. And, you know what I'm saying? Here we are. What's it? We have not talked politics or LeBron James in this group chat not one time.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Bless you.
Keep your friendships alive.
Damn,
so I think it just depends on what them people mean to you as far as how far you're going to go to resolve the conflict.
Yeah.
And move forward. You know what I mean? Like none of this stuff is important that we arguing about.
And yeah, none of this is important enough to lose you. You dig? And so now, ladies and gentlemen, again, if you're just tuning in, and I know we're getting ready to wrap it up in a second, but we're talking about conflict resolution. And here on the Lion's Den, we focus on all things leadership, growth, and development with the call to action from the household to out in the community. So that brings me to this next question for you all, and even for you, Herm, because I mean, I'm dealing with it here. So, man, how do we help our kids? Okay, how do we help our kids or people that we mentor, right, to handle arguments in a healthy way? And you know, it is hard, bro, because they look up to us and they see us, and then it's like, yo, we could be a walking contradiction, right, by the way we handle individuals, the people that we love in front of them, or you know, up at work. You dig? Because like we deal with the youth, right? So you know, what do you do, bro?
Man, sometimes this is one thing I appreciate my wife about, man, is that she's very cognizant of when the girls are here and what she wants the girls to hear. Like if me and her are arguing, she does not want the girls to see me, like when we're arguing, talking to her a certain kind of light, because the girls will think it's acceptable, you know what I'm saying, for a man to talk to him in that manner or whatever. You know what I mean? It's important, you know, the way you move and the way you do things in front of your kids is important.
Yeah.
you know, because they're the ones that pick up on that and then even subconsciously take it with them as they bring up their own kids,
Yeah. Start a
as they
model.
marry their own spouse. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even subconsciously they do it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like I've witnessed a man that I know that didn't have a good relationship with his father and stuff like that. I would think that, okay, it's going to make, you know what I'm saying? No, he has almost no relationship with his son now.
Mhm.
In almost the same kind of way. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, and but that person don't see it because it's subconscious to him.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? Like I'm looking, you know, as a person on the outside looking in, I'm looking like,
You can see the
okay,
pattern.
yeah, that's the
Mhm.
reason why they say, you know what I'm saying, like generational curses and all that type stuff. Sometimes we don't even see that we're doing the same thing.
That's right. That's right. You know, and I'm glad you said that, right? So my son's birthday was a couple of weeks ago, right? 21 years old. Now, we don't have the best relationship. However, I don't want to kind of perpetuate the same type of relationship that me and my biological father have. So, what's the difference? Okay, what's the difference? Being willing to, well, A, stay open, to be willing to, start conversations with love and end it with love, even if there's a conflict. Hey, son, you're going to think this way, which is fine and it's cool. And I understand. That's another thing. I want to understand. Not only do I, but I want to understand it more from your perspective, right? So therefore, when he gets into the point where he's a father, all right, or in the relationship, and even not just that, the way you handle things in home is sometimes the same way outside. How do you connect with individuals that you care about or individuals that look up to you, and how do you model those things? You get what I'm saying? How do you model those things? Because if it wasn't for individuals, excuse me, individuals like you, right? Like Jeff or other mentors, even some unfortunately bad relationships, if it wasn't for me to be able to reflect on those things and say, wow, I don't want to keep that cycle going in a negative sense, but I want to do something different. It's just hard to be the example that we profess. You see what I'm saying? But it's important because, like you said, your kids, man, they see that and they thinking that's the role. That's the way.
You know, I think the difference between the people you mentor in your family, right? The people that you mentor really only want your knowledge, right? Your
Okay.
knowledge is how they get
Mm-hmm.
the information from you. I had to think about this, man. I had to think about this like uh, while I was in the military and even now in the city, a lot of people look up to me for leadership advice, mentorship, and stuff like that, right? They'll come to me for that.
Mm-hmm.
But my family would think that I know nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had to think about it. It's like,
Yeah.
why, my family loves me way more than these other people.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, those folks they only want me for my knowledge, right? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? What do I know? What can I feed them? My family see me all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some of that some of that shine kind of doles out because they're like, man, you lay in the bed, eat chips all day. You
Right.
know what I mean? That those people don't know all my faults the way my family do.
Okay.
Not to say that that's a bad thing with my family, but it's just like these people see me as put you kind of like on a pedestal,
Yeah.
as you will. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he out in the community, he does this, that, and the third. Man, he always kills it at karaoke. I mean, he can't fail. You know what I mean? And then, you know what I mean? My family, you know what I mean? They know the down and dirty of me.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't about to ask you for no leadership advice. You can't clean the toilet all the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this your king right here.
Right.
If y'all
This your
only
king.
knew. Yeah, if y'all only knew. You know what I mean?
Them draws. If
Man,
you only
my
knew
wife
them
be taking videos
draws.
of me while I'm asleep, man. I'm like, damn, this is what you lay next to every day. I like, goodness gracious, I couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Man,
Oh
I'm
man,
like,
no, I
look,
get you.
I'm like, man, if the people only saw me like that,
yeah,
they wouldn't be rushing to me for mentorship neither, man. So again, I'm learning, trying not to take everything so personal,
yeah,
right? You know what I mean? But it's tough because I'm an overly emotional person.
mm,
I think that's a tough thing about my youngest daughter is she is like me.
mhm.
So conflicts with her is like conflict with me, and it's the toughest thing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I'm
well,
like, man, because she's so much of a fire. Like, not giving in. And I'm not gonna, you know what I'm saying? I'm not giving in once I'm not wrong.
right,
I don't care who you are.
right.
And I'm like that.
Hmm.
And so realizing that has made me have to learn to, like Kendrick said, take a step back, something that I normally don't do. And not press my daughter because it's gonna get bad. You
Bruh.
know what I mean?
And that's the deal, right? And so, friends, as we're coming to a close, just remember how important it is to resolve these conflicts, understanding the value, understanding, the other side of the relationship, no matter what it is. It can be personal relationships, occupationally, you dig, just socially, right? Because no matter where you go, you're going to be there. And are you truly growing? Are you resolving, quote unquote, resolving things the same way you did back in the 80s and 90s? You feel me? And thinking that, hey, that's just who I am. The question is why, and how has that worked out for you? You
Right.
see what I'm saying? Think about it. How do you do that? So I challenge you. We challenge you this week. All right. We challenge you this week. And as a matter of fact, Herm, I challenge you, and I challenge myself to try to either resolve a conflict based off of the things that we said, or have another level of understanding, right? Because again, I think we can all agree not all conflicts will be resolved, all right? But how do we truly, if we're, and I mean, it's people tuning in right now for a reason because they value what we're talking about, but can we put ourselves in a situation to actually do the things that we're talking about and then check in? You see, like, yo, this is going to be hard, but I need to work on me because the best version of me will be the best that I can give individuals. So what you think about that?
Like here's I want to add to that challenge.
Yeah.
I want anybody's listening, us included, to give yourself advice on conflict resolution
Yeah.
right now while you're not in a conflict. Write it down.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? What should you do once you're in a conflict? Well, no, act like you're talking to somebody else. You're giving somebody else advice.
Yo.
What should they do when they're dealing with conflict? You so smart. You got
Yeah.
the answers.
You got
You know
the
what I mean?
answer.
You so smart. You know what I mean? You know.
You know
What
what it
what
is.
should that person do if they involved in some kind of conflict?
Yeah.
And then see if you can follow that on your own advice. You know what I'm saying? When something unexpected pops up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you
And
can
look,
throw it. You know what I'm saying? See if you can do it.
yeah, let's do that, y'all. And check it out what Kendrick says. He says, I think one of the first things I had to learn to do is to see conflict as a normal part of life, which is very true. It's very true.
Mm.
Now, right now, the other thing I had to learn was I actually avoided confrontation, but mislabeled them as conflict. Mm. Hmm. Yeah. What do you think about that? Because if you,
Avoided
yeah.
confrontations, but mislabeled them as conflicts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I think Cameron's trying to get too smart for me, man. I don't know what he's trying to say right
No,
there.
you sleepy. Hey, but look, check it out. This is what we're gonna do, y'all. We're gonna table this, okay? And Kendrick, I know you're listening. You coming on the show. All right, you coming on the show. We're gonna have you on. We already got you scheduled, not scheduled, excuse me. We got you slotted, and we're gonna make sure the times are working out.
Mm-hmm.
And but we do want to make sure we incorporate that because everything, ladies and gentlemen, that we talk about here on the Lions Den, we are focused on truly growth, not growth as just doing better, but challenging, excuse me, challenging ourselves to be better. Right. And it's not easy. So, Kendrick, when we come on, man, I want you to elaborate on that. And we appreciate y'all We appreciate it. What you got? One last word, Herm, anything?
Yeah, I'm going to address that last statement about sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war, right?
Yo, there we go.
Because we had talked about that before when we was talking about this show.
Bruh.
You know, it's crazy that you want to 100% get what that's saying, but it's like battle and war when it deals with conflict resolution. So we already got our mindset that this is a fight, right? But it's absolutely correct. Sometimes you gotta lose those little short victories. You gotta give. You know, the result of conflict shouldn't be I got 100% of what I wanted.
Should be collaboration.
Yeah, you should be proud of the way you was able to compromise and collaborate and come to a joint resolution. Show true leadership. Hit that damn button one time. That's what I'm talking
about. One more time. Good. You absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? If you leave there with 100% of what you want,
you out of line. Yo,
asshole.
Yo, I think you out of line.
I really don't want to work with you. You're a bully.
Yeah, you a bully. You are a bully, folks. Go ahead.
But that I wanted to hit that before I signed off. Thank you all for rocking with us once again. You know what I mean? My bad about not being there right in the beginning. You should have heard Seth with his attitude on the phone. You know what I mean? I'm like, man, I'm in trouble, man. I'm about to get written up.
Yo, I'm about to pull his 341. Check it out. This is what happened. What happened is I woke his ass up. He ain't
you did. Well, first my mom woke me up. My mom woke me up first, and I woke up. I didn't even look at the time, and then you called. I'm like, man, I'm like, oh my God.
Hey, y'all, we gonna get it in. Hey, but listen, fast forward. Just want to let y'all know. Unfortunately, had a death in the family, so I'm heading towards Detroit this weekend. So we're gonna have a replay of the show, or not this show, but another show, right? But we will be following our regular scheduled program after that. So got to take care of family. But yo, we appreciate y'all. We thank y'all. We go get it in. Y'all take care of each other and yourselves. Right on. Later.